Okay, spice lovers, take a look at that. Could this be the best Vindaloo recipe on YouTube? Welcome back to the channel, guys. It's good to be back and it's good to be sharing with you another recipe. And boy, is this a recipe to share with you today. It's the king of curries. And that's how I call it in my book, The Secret to the Takeaway Curry Taste, Part 1. I refer to this as the king of curries, Vindaloo. Notice it's got a little crown above the O there. And the reason that I call it the king of curries was back in the 1980s, and I tell this story in my book. If a restaurant did a good Vindaloo back in the 1980s and 1990s, then that was the benchmark for that being a good restaurant. If they did a good Vindaloo, they were a good restaurant. And the reason that I'm so excited about sharing this recipe with you guys this week is that we're utilizing my new Indian base. If you've not heard about this, I'll leave a video at the end that you can link to see what this is all about. But this is changing the way people are making curries. You can make this in about 45 minutes and it will do enough for 12 curries, and you can freeze it and you freeze it and it doesn't take up a lot of space. You don't need a coffin-sized chest freezer in your garage to freeze all your base gravy. And this is revolutionizing the way that people cook curry, because it's so quick, it's already cooked, and you can get great results. And it lends itself, this base lends itself to spicier curries, and it really takes the Vindaloo recipe that's in my book to a whole new level. So you've got to make this recipe today, guys. So without further ado, let's get into it and see what our ingredients are. So we won't spend too long on the ingredients because I'll list them underneath the video for you. It is pretty much the same as the recipe that's in my book. The only difference being is we're not using a Bangladeshi style base, we're using this. But the rest of the ingredients are more or less the same. So we've got here about a kilo, 950 grams of pre-cooked lamb in some of the gravy that we've cooked it in. This pre-cooked lamb, guys, is based upon the recipe that's in my book, but I do have another recipe slightly different on this channel for pre-cooked lamb, which delivers pretty much the same results, very similar. I will post a link underneath for that pre-cooked lamb. But what you want to be doing is, once you've pre-cooked the lamb, is setting the juices aside that have come off the lamb and just blending it a little bit just to make it nice and smooth, and using that in your curry. It will take it over the top. We've got our base. Essentially, it's 1 chef spoon per person, and that's all we're going to need. We've got some cirio tomato puree. I think we've got about 3 teaspoons. Again, the recipe will be underneath, with just a little bit of water just to thin it up. We've got 200 milliliters of virgin oil, and you can get away with olive oil. It's better for you, obviously, in a spicier curry, because you won't taste the olive oil, and it's obviously better for you. But use whatever oil you want. This is 200 milliliters. 5 to 6 green chilies that have just been cut in half with the seeds exposed. We've got here a level teaspoon. I usually say scant, but it basically means not a full teaspoon. A level teaspoon of cardamom powder. This is a key ingredient, guys. You must use this to get the flavor that you're going to get with this Vindaloo recipe. 3 tablespoons of Kashmiri chili powder. We have 2 heaped tablespoons of my mixed powder. We've got a few sticks of ginger, which we'll decorate the curry with at the end. And we've got, and this is another important ingredient, guys, you really can't miss this out. These are dried Kashmiri chili peppers, and they must be the Kashmiri ones. They must say Kashmiri on the packet for you to get the right flavor and the right color. You can tell the difference. I don't know if you can see that, but they are a lot more red. They're a deep red color, and they add a wonderful color to the Vindaloo and a lovely flavor too. It's not about heat, it's about the flavor, it's about the color. We're going to blitz them in my little spice grinder in just a minute. We've got some methi leaves. We've got some black pepper. Black pepper is really important in this curry. We'll talk about that in just a moment. We've got some pink Himalayan salt, but use whatever salt you want. We've also got some fresh coriander, but we've got a lot of the stalks in there. Really important to use the stalks in this recipe. We've got some lime juice here, and in my recipe, my original recipe video that's in my book, I mentioned that you're best using lime rather than lemon. Many restaurants will use lemon, or even worse, they'll just use the you know, the sort of lemon concentrate, but fresh lime juice really makes this curry. And then we've got a little bit of water there just to thin it out. I don't want this curry to be too thick. I like a vindaloo to be a little bit runny, not super runny, but not thick, because I like the sauce. I love the gravy that you get with the vindaloo, especially with the lamb. So we'll use the water to just get the consistency that we want. So without further ado, let's get cooking. So we've got our pan heating up. We're cooking with my cast iron wok or karahi dish, whatever you want to call it, but this is fantastic, perfect for this type of curry. Takes a little bit longer to warm up. Once it's hot, it keeps hot. So we're warming that up. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to put in our olive oil. Now you might remember I mentioned about we need to grind up these Kashmiri chili peppers. You could break them up and throw them in, but I like them to be broken up, to not blitz them to a powder, but just so that they dissolve into the curry. They'll add a lovely red colour and flavour. So take your spice grinder, put your chili peppers in, and give them a blitz up. Just be mindful if they're going to give out a little bit of like sort of dust, and that dust can make you cough. So if you're asthmatic or anything like that, you might just want to put like a kitchen towel on or something just to protect you, because they can sort of get to the back of your throat a little bit. There are a few bits there, but you can see it's pretty much ground that up. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to put those chilies in our pan. Now it's hard to tell, guys, when you look in the pan, but they really do infuse a lovely red colour into the oil. But this pan's black, so you can't really see that. But believe me, when we see the finished result of the vindaloo, you'll see just how much they influence the oil and the colour of it. So we just want to cook those chilies just for about 45 seconds, a minute. That's all we need. We're going to go in with our garlic and ginger paste. So this is essentially 50-50 garlic and ginger, and we're going to put in 3 tablespoon amounts in this recipe. Just cook that out just for about 30 to 40 seconds in the pan. So we get rid of all the rawness of the garlic and ginger, but we don't want to burn it, obviously. You can tell when it's more or less done because the sizzle that you can hear in the pan, which is the water content, leaves it and it quietens down. Then you know it's cooking, it's almost cooked. Yeah, that sounds nice and quiet now. So now we're going to go in with our methi leaves. 20-30 seconds. Next, we're going to put in our tomato puree. Now, as mentioned many times, I recommend the Cirio brand if you can get it. It's really superior. Now, you need to cook this out. So we need to get the temperature up a little bit just to cook the acidity out of our tomato puree. I mean, just take a look in the pan, guys. There, it's already starting to take on that sort of vindaloo characteristic. You know, vindaloo is a hot and spicy curry, but it's not all just about the heat. It's about the flavour. A really good vindaloo should be, yeah, hot and spicy, but it shouldn't be ridiculously hot. Sometimes I found that certain restaurants, if they don't do it right, they just get the heat using chili powder, and it's an inferior, cheap, extra hot chili powder. It's got lots of seeds in it. It's very orangey in colour, and it just doesn't add flavour. It just makes it unbearably hot in the mouth. That's not a vindaloo in my opinion. We're getting our heat in this vindaloo. Yeah, we're getting some from the Kashmiri chili powder, but remember, it's not that spicy. But we're getting it from the garlic and the ginger. We're getting it from the fresh chilies. We're getting it from the black pepper. Those things will add heat and spice to our vindaloo. So we can see splitting there in the pan, which says that the tomato puree is cooked. So we're going to go in with our mixed powder. Just cook that out. Wow, this is smelling so good, guys. It really is. Once you've cooked your mixed powder, you can just smell those aromas from the spices. We're going to put in our Kashmiri chili powder and cook that. You know, Kashmiri chili powder is a whole other thing. It's so different than your regular chili powder. It not only has a fantastic colour, but a fantastic flavour. And yeah, there is some heat there, but it's not overpowering. It is really, really nice. Now look at that paste, guys, in the pan. It's a deep red, as you can see there. And this is Vindaloo. This is how Vindaloo should be. And then we're going to go in with our next spice, which is the cardamom, the green cardamom powder. And this is a key ingredient. It really does get a fantastic flavour. And I got this tip from the chef at the Nepalese in Didsbury in South Manchester. That was one of the best places for Vindaloo in the 1980s and 1990s. And that was what he used to put in his Vindaloo to get a certain characteristic flavour, the cardamom powder. So now we've got our black pepper. That's another heat element going in. Just bring that in. And now it's drying up a little bit. We're just going to add a bit of our water just to loosen things up. Just a little bit. And that will just help sort of make this back into a paste again. We'll just cook everything together. So at this stage, we're ready for our lamb. And so we just basically going to add this into our spice mixture. Remember, the lamb's cooked, so we don't need to cook it. We're just really marrying the two together. But we're bringing in all that gravy that came off, because we cooked it down as per the recipe, so it gets a really thick gravy, and that's what really adds this lovely lamb flavour to our Vindaloo. So let's just bring these ingredients together, the lamb, the gravy, and our Vindaloo paste. Just take a look at that. It's already starting to look like a Vindaloo. We're going to add in our salt. So at this stage, we're going to put in quite a lot of our coriander, but we're focusing mostly on the stalks. So there's quite a lot of the stalks in, and there's so much flavour in your coriander stalks, and it really works well with spicier curries. So we're going to put loads of those stalks in, as you can see there. Now, what we're going to do now is we're going to add in our green chillies. Now these add a lovely sharpness to our heat, and it's nice to see them in the Vindaloo. Now we're going to go in with the 4 chef spoons of my Indian base. And we're going to add in our lime juice. You know, in the 1980s and 1990s, Vindaloo was my favourite. Every time I went to an Indian restaurant, Pakistani restaurant, it was always Vindaloo that I would order. I just loved it. It just had so much flavour. It had the heat thing going on. We're ready, but we just want to get the sauce to the level and consistency that we want. Now, as I said, I like quite a bit of gravy with my Vindaloo. You might vary. You might prefer it thicker. That's up to you. If you don't want it quite runny and a lot of gravy, then don't add this water. But at this stage, I'm going to add a little bit more water. And let's just bring that all in. And that is looking and smelling amazing. Now this is, as I say, a curry for 4, and it is a good job that my wife Katie likes Vindaloo. When we first started going out in the early 1990s, and I took her to Indian restaurants, she couldn't stomach anything more than a korma, truth be told. She wasn't really brought up with curry. It wasn't sort of part of her sort of culinary vocabulary, if you like. But as we started going out and going out for meals and whatnot, and then eventually got married, She really develops a love for it as much as I have a love for it now, and she loves a good vindaloo. So we'll be enjoying this curry tonight and maybe even tomorrow as well. We're going to put on the lid of our pan and we're going to let that cook for about another 5 or 6 minutes. In 5 or 6 minutes we'll come back, we'll take the lid off, we'll take a look inside the pan. It should be done. All we'll need to do then is finish it off with our garam masala and the rest of our coriander. Just check for seasoning with the salt and it's done. It's that simple. So it's about another 6 minutes, 6 or 7 minutes, and it's been bubbling away, and we're just going to take the lid off and take a look and see how our vindaloo is looking. Wow, take a look at that. It is an oily curry. If you don't want a lot of oil in your curry, and yeah, I can understand that if you're on a diet or whatever, health reasons, then what I would suggest is that you just skim the oil off. At this stage, as you can see, the oil has floated to the top, so you can skim this oil off if you would prefer it to not be so oily. But you know what, I don't have it that often, and I think the oil, personally speaking, I think that the oil really does add to the wonderful flavour. The oil, what the oil does, apart from being a carrier for the spices, is it coats your mouth with that flavour, and especially with it being hot, it really does increase the intensity of the heat if you love a spicy curry. So all we need to do now is just add in our teaspoon of freshly ground garam masala. This is my recipe that's in my book, but any garam masala will do. It just brings the whole vindaloo flavour to a new intensity, having those freshly ground aromatic spices just added in at the end. Little juliennes of fresh root ginger, because ginger really does add to the fieriness of this curry. And then our last bit of fresh coriander. Okay, spice lovers, take a look at that. So let's just try our lamb vindaloo. So first of all, I'm just going to try the sauce. Oh wow. Oh wow. I think the first thing that you notice there, that there is that background sweetness from the tomatoes. This is a tomatoey curry, and it really works well, the sweet and the hot together. So because it's really good quality tomato paste that we're using, the cirio, it tastes like tomatoes. So it doesn't just taste of that sort of like tainted acidic taste of tomato puree. It tastes like tomato. You really get that depth of the tomatoes, which adds sort of an unctuousness really to our gravy. From the lime, I can taste the lime there, and I can taste the green chili, and then I can just taste that Kashmiri chili as well, which is like a really sort of woody, earthy flavour that you get from Kashmiri chili. Not just the chili powder, but remember we put those Kashmiri chilies in our blitzer, and we added them into the oil, and you can just taste that going on there. Almost smokiness really from it. You can taste the complexity of the aromatic spices. That cardamom, green cardamom powder, just adds that sort of almost citrus note to it. But then you've got the garam masala, so you've got, and the black pepper. There's just so much going on in it. It really is one of those curries that will, it's like a gift that will keep giving. The more you eat it, the more of these flavors you're going to taste. I'm just going to try some of the lamb. And I know this is good because I pre-cooked it, so I'd already tasted it. I didn't really need to check it. But let's just taste it in the sauce. You really get the heat of the curry in the actual meat. So the heat's not just in the sauce, it's in the meat as well. And as I was eating that then, I could really taste the heat on the side of my tongue. It was just delicious. I'm really enjoying making recipes with this new base, and we've got many more to explore. And at the moment, we're doing them all for 4, so this will serve your family. Or if you don't have 4 in the family, you can freeze it and have it later, or leave it in the fridge overnight. It'll be even better the next day. So make that this weekend, guys, and tell me what you think of it. I'm reading all your comments, and so many great comments about this new base and the results that you're getting, and that really thrills me that people who've been cooking curry for years and using other methods are now using this new base and getting even better results. That makes making all these videos worth it. So thank you so much for sharing those results with me. And if you're new to this channel, go and read them and go and check out what people are doing with this base and the results that they're getting. And if you're not a subscriber, then you know what to do. Subscribe and hit the notification button and you'll get alerted as I make new recipes. At the moment, it's wedding season, and as many of you know, I'm a videographer. I'm all up and down the country, Scotland, down south, all over the place shooting weddings. So videos are about every 2 weeks at the moment, but it does quieten off a little bit at the end of August, and I will probably be back to at least posting once a week, and we'll get some restaurant reviews under the belt. I've got some places I want to try and share with you. I've got a whole lot planned for this channel. So as always, you know what? Happy currying.